So we're planting tulips today, and I'm going to give you some hot tips on how to grow stronger and straighter stems, but then also to have a better chance of repeat blooms year after year. So today we're going to be planting a range of tulips from our shop, and we're going to include some of these beautiful, rich, big blooms of the double tulips here. We've got Black Hero, Sun Lover, Salcedo, absolutely fantastic. And then also some of the more subtle colors here, which I really like. I love the peaches and apricots and the whites. So we've Mango Charm here, Royal Virgin. These two are both Triumph tulips. Your lily flower tulips, so those are the ones that have the more pointed petals, and this is a new one, Elegant Lady. I absolutely love it. And then I always use this Groenland, probably pronounced wrong, but this is a Viridiflora type. And then we also have these greens in the petals, and it just makes them blend in so much to a kind of natural planting, which is kind of what we have going on here. Now, tulip bulbs are going to be available in the shops from about September onwards, but what you want to do is hold off planting until the end of October, even later in warmer years. Now, the reason for that late planting is that if you were to have viral or fungal diseases in your soil, they're going to be much more active when the soil is warm. So once we leave it a little bit late, then we have much less chance of them infecting your bulbs. Now, as regards planting then, we want to put our tulips in a bed in full sun ideally, and we're going to plant them into a nice fertile and well-drained soil. Now, they will tolerate partial shade, but the more sun they get means that's the more energy that they can put into their bulbs, and then obviously that's going to give you a better chance of those repeat blooms year after year. Planting depth is normally advised to be about 8 or 10 centimeters, but going deeper up to about 20 centimeters also gives you a better chance of repeat blooms. Now, the reason for that is when we plant tulips in shallow soil, they'll be more likely to reproduce, and that means that they produce numerous smaller bulbs, whereas the deep planting, on the other hand, discourages that process. So again, we're getting all the energy putting into a single large bulb, which means obviously then that we have a better flower than the following year. Now, also that deep planting is going to give us those stronger and straighter stems that we're looking for, and they're going to be less likely to fall over in wind or in heavy rain. So as I said, we want a well-drained soil. Tulips really do appreciate that good drainage, and luckily that is what we have here. But if you're planting a permanent tulip bed, I would definitely avoid any wet areas with a sticky clay soil, because you're just going to be fighting it the whole time. Now, if you want to improve a clay soil, then 100% the answer is to mix in plenty of organic matter. So that's your well-rotted garden compost, well-rotted manure, whatever materials you can get your hands on. What I wouldn't do is mix in sand, which a lot of people do, because unless you mix in the same amount of sand as you have soil, so that's a 50-50 ratio, which is pretty much impossible, you're actually going to make the problem worse. Now, as regards how we're going to arrange our tulips in the bed, in my opinion, you want to try and get it to look as natural as possible. So that means that we want to arrange our groups, our colors, or even to blend in with our existing plants into kind of drifts so that they all sort of blend into each other. What I wouldn't do is plant in kind of specific clumps or blocks, because that can look really very artificial. As I said, this kind of drift gives you a much more natural look. So the easiest thing to do is to place your bulbs on the soil before you plant. And your planting distance, oh yeah, I'm kind of cheating a little bit here because I'm actually going to use one of our mix selections here, and that's a purple and pink mix, which I know looks really good. So I'm not getting hung up on the colors right now. And neither am I getting too hung up on that planting distance. As I said, it's 8 centimeters. So 8 centimeters is around about the width of 2 tulip bulbs together. But I am placing them quite randomly there. I'm kind of got my kind of main group there, and then sometimes even just throwing tulips in bulbs onto the bed like that is going to make them land in a kind of a random pattern, and that gives us our natural look. Now, if you're planting very large drifts in open soil, what can be much handier to do is you just basically dig out a big wide hole, again 18-20 centimeters deep. You can then just arrange your bulbs like we have here and then just fill it all in, which can be a lot quicker. Your other option then is to do it individually, and we have a number of tools. Now, I just robbed these from the warehouse today, so they're brand new. So this is a bulb planter, and what this does is, as we push this down into the soil, I don't want to do it because I don't want to get it all dirty. It's actually going to pull out a plug of soil. Now, these are especially good if you're planting naturalized plantings of tulips in grass, because it'll chomp out a plug with your bit of grass on the top. You can plant your tulip, replace the plug, and then nobody will know that you've been planting. So we have different options there. We also have little hand ones like that. If you have nice loose soil, these are a lot easier to use, but another really handy one. But today, what I'm going to be doing is just using my trusty crowbar, which I use for all sorts of things. And you can see there, I just marked it with a bit of tape at 20 centimeters. And I can just basically run around and make holes beside each bulb and pop them in. So just making our hole. Now, I've actually gone a little bit deeper with this one because, as I said, we have a nice well-drained soil here. But if you were worried about your soil, if it was a bit wet and sticky, what you can do is, I've got a bucket of sand here, and if I just fill a couple of handfuls into the bottom of that hole, and then I plant my tulip bulb on top, what I've done there is I'm creating a kind of a drainage sump underneath, and that keeps the moisture away from the roots. So look, that's about it. I'm not going to make you watch me plant up the whole bed. I do hope that some of the tips here, that you found them useful. Remember that everything you see in the video, apart from me, of course, is all available in our shop, including the bulb planters, the tulips, even the perennial seed soil, whatever you want. So look, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you wouldn't mind clicking the subscribe button, because it helps us make these videos, and we'll see you in the next one.